Last week, the Washington, D.C. region SCCA iRacing League took on Virginia International Raceway for its two-race sprint format. Tom O'Gorman swept the class in TCR last week, and this week we head to Weathertech Raceway Laguna Seca in California. Welcome to SimTV. My name is Kyle Heyer. I'm joined tonight by Finney and Dacuna for the 6th round of the season. Finney, and tonight we head to a racetrack that is beloved in the sports car community. It's challenging, and of course, it's got the famous Corkscrew.
Yeah, no, one of the most famous, you could argue one of the most famous corners in American motorsports. It's definitely going to be tricky, especially for the TCRs. The MX-5s, I wouldn't say this is a particularly tricky track, definitely technical, but I think the TCRs are going to have quite of a hard time because there's a lot of narrow and tight corners around the space, especially Corkscrew.
So, big news this week, iRacing has updated to its 2019 season 4, is it 2020 season 1? 2020 season 1, I always get that confused. So, one of the big changes that came with that was the realization that the global MX-5 cars now have iRacing's V7 tire model. And what does that mean, Finney? It means cold tires are going to be extremely slick tonight, and the guys in the MX-5 category better be careful because there's over 20 of them here.
Yeah, it's going to be a big change, that, especially if we didn't get a lot of track time. Just so this tire model in general, not even including the track, it's definitely going to catch you off guard because it is a radical departure from what was the previous tire model.
So qualifying has been going underway for some time now, and you see Elias Roman on top in TCR, DJ Alessandrini in number 61 GMX5. He sits in the pole position right now for that category, but we haven't gone over completely the season end prizes, and as we get closer to the end of the season, I do feel like it's important to go over. So let's roll over this right now. And right now, the points leaders in GMX5 is Josh Cada now, and in TCR, I believe it is, David Alessi is the TCR leader. So here, if they stay in this position, this is what they will get at season's end. Most points in class, whether that be TCR or GMX5, you get a championship plaque. If you're a Washington, D.C. region SCCA driver and you get the most points in your category, you get a one-day HPDE session at Summit Point or Dominion Raceway in 2020, which is a $295 value, and a single Mid-Atlantic Road Racing weekend entry in 2020, which is a $340 value. If you're not a Washington, D.C. region SCCA driver, and you're the highest point-winning car in your category, you get a Track Night in America gift card, which is a $125 value. So there's a lot of leagues that run on SimTV that are just running for fun here, Finian, but we're running for fun and for a little bit of bragging rights and for some prizes.
Yeah, so these guys are definitely going to be on their A-game, especially guys like David Alessi trying to keep up the points lead over David Fitzgerald in second place.
We'll head down to the racetrack here and kind of cover what's left of qualifying as the field rolls on to the course. And again, DJ Alessandrini, this season he's been spectacular driving in MX-5 and in TCR, but was so interested yesterday to learn how the MX-5 drove. Was one of the first drivers to really go out there and start testing it, and immediately was messing with the setup. And one of the things he decided was that this car used to kind of let it squat in the rear. Well, now you kind of have to have a lot of rake in it, where it's sitting forward on it, kind of sitting on its haunches a little bit. So a lot of setup changes for the 61. He said everything that you knew about this car you can completely throw out. He says now it drives like a car. Now, we also heard that echoed by Jackson Robillard, who drives this car in the real world, and he said that the changes that iRacing has made have made this car even better than it was before. So I'm looking forward to how these cars race, but the first lap or two, going to be extremely challenging. Probably even more so in this car than the TCR, because the TCR guys have been used to it for a couple months now.
Yeah, they've been getting used to it, although I will say that it should be significantly easier to warm up the tires in the Mazda, being rear-wheel drive and you're turning with the front wheels, so both tires getting heated up pretty quickly in comparison to the TCR. The back wheels really hard to get heated up.
Yeah, David Alessi, current points leader in TCR, and in line to pick up one of those great season-end prizes we just told you about. So he's been having a spectacular season, and no Tom O'Gorman tonight because he's at the 25 Hours of Thunderhill this week, so he will not be in this race. That means that David Alessi, who's currently qualified second, has a pretty good chance of winning this race and extending his points lead. But you mentioned Dave Fitzgerald's up there. Darren Treacle has also been really impressive in the starts that he's made in the TCR car. And of course, Francois Brou and Talas Sadiq are always in the fight to win one of these things. So those drivers will be hard to beat tonight. Josh Caden now again leading MX-5, but he's going to have some stiff competition, especially because this class is so full tonight. We have almost 40 cars here this evening, and the majority of them is the MX-5 class.
Paul Darling is currently in second place in the class, and only 10 points behind, so you can easily overthrow Caden now, especially considering that Darling's qualified or set to qualify in second in class, while Caden now is back in sixth.
So taking a look at the left-hand side of the screen, you're going to see all the times that have been laid down, and the class difference here, about 5 seconds from the slowest of the TCR cars to the fastest of the GMX-5s. Now, this racetrack I wouldn't consider to be one of the toughest tracks for multi-class competition. I don't think it'll be nearly as hard as VIR was last week, but we probably will see the TCR field get all the way back around to the MX-5s. I think the way this track races, I think we'll see that happen. VIR so long, it didn't really happen quite as much last week. So qualifying is complete, so any driver that has already started a lap is allowed to complete it, but everyone else will have to quit.
Spun out ahead.
See what corner that was. It's turn 5, yeah. But didn't see who it was. A sneaking suspicion it was Ken Houseel in the 23, potentially?
Yeah, he was involved in, I don't know, I think it might have been Elias Roman that was hitting around.
Oh yeah. It was the 100, and it's that Calvin Wong, yes. So it was Wong. Went for a big slide. There's another look at it. Kind of braking a little bit left. Houseel's moving a little bit right. See how much that TCR car sidesteps when it loses grip? That's not a tendency that the MX-5 has on this new tire. But the TCR is fitting. This racetrack, it's got a lot of things, but one thing it doesn't have a lot of is runoff. It's all gravel. It's all sand. If you dip a wheel off in the TCR car, you're going to go for a long ride into the dirt.
Yeah, that's another big thing. We say it every single week with the series. Keep it on the black stuff for the TCRs. It's gonna take you a really long time to try to get the car slow down and turn back onto the course if you do go off track. And like you said, very easy to do.
Take another look at our track map before we get into the race tonight. Again, 11 corners around here, 2.2 miles. It's a fast racetrack. It's got a lot of, I wouldn't really consider them downforce corners. It's kind of point and shoot around here for the most part. But this track has a banking as well, which will help these cars corner to their ultimate ability. Again, heating up tires, we'll see if it's going to be an issue tonight. What is the weather like as we take a look? Weather, relatively cool conditions. 65 in the air, 75 on the racetrack. That's very cool for California especially. Maybe not for this part of California.
Yeah, so definitely will help these drivers out, and they're a little less sliding around. I'm sure the MX-5 drivers are going to be a little bit happy with that, trying to get their car up or the tires up to temperature.
A couple drivers left on course, but for the most part, most of the field has pulled off. That leaves Elias Roman and DJ Alessandrini on pole in their respective classes. David Alessi, Paul Darling second in class each, and Francois Brou, Christopher Lapras in third in their classes. So field's going to get gridded up and ready to go racing. 15 minutes for race number 1, 20 minutes for race number 2. This first race will be about 14 laps if everyone's on pace. We're going to head down to the grid here. We'll roll through our starting lineup here in just a moment. I love looking at that TCR car. We've been wanting a car like this for so long, and to finally have it, I feel like we've kind of taken it for granted lately. It's a cool looking race car. It's good to have to race.
And here's the interesting thing too. So speaking of the TCR car, iRacing, they put on Instagram, I think it was, that they're at I think a BMW event or expo or something. Yeah. So some people are speculating they could be potentially working with BMW because BMW is thinking about introducing a TCR.
Where was the Mazda? That's my question. Yeah. I think the Mazda looks really good.
Yeah. So there's some rumors that only rumors, is purely based on speculation that we could get could be BMW TCR.
Hope so. That'd be cool
if they work with an injunction with them for the release.
Well, at least if they work with them that way, it won't be out of date by the time we get it. I'm kidding. All right, let's roll through our starting lineup here as the field gets rolling for their pace lap. On the front row in TCR, Elias Roman and David Alessi. David Alessi is your current points leader in TCR. We'll see if he can continue to do that after tonight's race.
Moving on back to row number 2, got Francois Brou in the 69. And in the inside lane, outside of him in 4th, the Palisade Eco, 63 from New Jersey.
Row number 3, Dennis Barrett, the Ohioan, in the number 11, Louis Alessi, and the number 43 to the outside of row number 3.
Back in row number 4, we have in 7th place Darren Treacle in the 70, looking to see if he can get a good finish, as well as Dave Fitzgerald in the 91, starting back in 8th.
The last row of TCRs that have taken the grid, Calvin Wong in the number 100, the Canadian, right alongside Shane Daggett in the 67. They'll be the last TCRs to roll off with the grid. And DJ Alessandrini, Paul Darling share the front row. Again, both these drivers extremely competitive. Ken Houseel only made row number 2 in GMX-5, though, Finian.
Back to him and even beating him to there in 3rd place, Christopher Lapras. We know that he's wicked fast and did a really good job last week at VIR.
Andrew Lanning, number 18, starts in 5th in GMX-5. Josh Caden now in the 97. The New Yorker rolls off 6th in the 2nd class.
Back in 7th place, we got Evan Schiegel in the 33 from New York, and outside him, Richard Spicer in 56.
In 9th place, it'll be Sly Stafford in the 719, and saying he was, this is where he technically wasn't qualifying, although he will not start there. So we'll let the rest of the grid scroll along the bottom of your screen. We'll jump back up. Where are the TCR cars? Well, they're working their way up the hill towards the all-famous Corkscrew. It's a several-story drop. Second, third gear corner. You see the fans enjoying it here. No, that's new.
Yeah, that's...
As field drops down, they're going to get a nice look at that. And it's an unfortunate place to put objects in the update. Well,
I should really enable that the setting where you can put the track and race mode when I do the cameras, because I always do it in.
Oh yeah, that would be helpful. Anyway, field rolling through. Relatively small TCR field this week. I think there's a lot of drivers that wanted to try out the GMX5. Well, they're going to get a chance to do just that. 15 minutes going on the board for the Washington, D.C. region SCCA iRacing League, round number 6 from Weathertech Raceway Laguna Seca. Green flag flies, and we're racing in California. Down into turn 1, everyone jumping on the binders, cold tires here, but I think it's going to be even worse when the MX-5s get up to speed, but it's going to be Elias Roman continuing to hold the lead. David Alessi has dropped a couple spots into 3rd in class, almost looking like he's going to fall back to 4th. Meanwhile, in GMX5, where's the start? Here it is, as they work their way up to speed. DJ Alessandrini on the outside, Paul Darling on the inside, Ken House-Seal tucked in behind Darling as they make their way down to turn 1.
Slow start for the MX-5s. They went right at the last second at the line, and they're all clumped together. This could be chaotic here down to turn 1.
Ken House-Seal on the outside. Lapras is going to get turned right back into traffic.
Oh, and everyone has to check up and avoid. Everyone did a great job getting through.
Whoa! Not quite. Car got tagged in that. Was it? I don't know if it was Clav. It was Atkinson, and that car is totaled. So the 04 Lapras tried to get spun back around and caught in the 456. That's going to be almost probably terminal damage there. Up front in TCR, though, through the Corkscrew and down the hill, Elias Roman holds the lead. Brew has worked his way into 2nd, but David Alessi trying to earn his way back up into that P2 spot.
They're going to look to the outside. Brew going to close the door on him. So 34 going to be back in 3rd place.
Dave Fitzgerald 2nd in TCR standings. Taking a run at Calvin Wong into the final corner, but he's going to stay put for now. Up the hill, a big gap that the MX-5 field left. They're going to get lapped pretty quickly here with all that gap. And House-Seal tucked in right behind Paul Darling. Will he take a look into the Corkscrew? No, Darling is going to protect just a little bit as they head down the hill.
I expect these guys to break away from the rest of it.
Whoa!
No, Darling, as I say that.
Spins, concrete wall for Darling.
Should be relatively okay, all things considered.
Oh, Travis Skeel is also around. I think that's at the top of the hill. Oh, that wasn't, I don't know who that was. It was Mark Labens in the 92 who was stopped. And more. Charles Boley's around.
Oh, man.
Again, we knew that this was going to be a challenge on the cold tires.
Absolute chaos in the 3rd sector.
And more. I think we got it all sorted out now. We knew this was going to be a big challenge, and drivers are struggling to figure out the new tire on this car just to get it up to temp. But Lapras, he's going to try to drive through this field after his turn 1 mistake, or he got kind of tagged and spun back around. He's got a little bit of damage on that nose, but with everyone spinning around him, he's able to grab some of those spots right back.
Yeah, how about Paul Darling? He's only back in 7th after completely spinning out into the and nose that thing into the wall.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage he's got on the nose of that car, though. I can't imagine it's going to drive too well after this.
I'll say he might be able to get up maybe the 6th or 5th, and again, for him, really, I would just focus on, trying to catch up to Kate now. And he's still actually ahead. Kate now in 10th.
Yeah, it looks like Charles Boley went off again in turn 1. He's going to get it way deep on the brakes and tag the 39 at Claffey and sent him around. So drama early on lap 1 and 2 for GMX5.
Speaking of drama, I think something happened with Dave Fitzgerald, because they're he's currently 14 seconds behind the leader.
Yeah, so what happened to Fitzgerald here? We have an incident maybe going up into the Corkscrew. No, this is far before that, I think. Oh, no, this is even... Must have had an issue way back. This was another issue we saw. That's Kada now got caught up in the final corner. Fitzgerald's been back here for a while, and I don't know exactly how he got there, but we don't want to distract too much from what's going on. David Alessi has fallen to 4th. Not the pace that he was probably expecting to have here. Finian started 2nd and is dropping down pretty quick here.
Yeah, think for him, as long as he can stay in the top 5, remember, the guys he's racing are Treacle and Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald's pretty much last in class at this point, back in 10th place. And we got
Flipsy.
Yeah.
And this is off in turn number 9. And this is probably a similar situation. Did he get tagged from the 30? Oh yeah. Gets a bit of a door and up onto the curb, and around he goes again. So the challenge has been huge tonight, and no one's really sorted it out other than the leaders, and they have kind of driven away. DJ Alessandrini, Ken Halseal have a 10-second gap on the next car.
Okay, now is dropping down the order. I think he's got some trouble.
Yeah, he went to pit road after his initial contact on the opening lap. So hopefully he can focus on some racing now that we've got some of the carnage out of the way. But up front in TCR, it's Elias Roman. David Alessi still trying to work over Tal Sadiq. 430, you mentioned the drivers that he's fighting are Treacle and Fitzgerald. Well, he's doing well there. But Francois Brou can't be too far behind in the standings, and he's beaten all those drivers right now.
Who's kind of a little bit ways far back in 5th. Because you got Dennis Barrett ahead of him in 4th in the standings. So.
Barrett's 5th on track right now, right behind this battle for 3rd. So already Elias Roman, you see him catching some tail end. That's Alan Claffey in the 39. And Boley up the road, as well as Francois Flipsky. So they're already catching some of the MX-5s that looped it around earlier. And I can't imagine it's going to be a whole lot of fun, especially with these MX-5s still maybe a little skittish. It's 4 laps in. You'd think by now they would have heated the tires up, but it's cold weather here that can't be helping. So now you see Francois Brou working his way to the inside into turn 6. Don't hit that red anti-cut curve on the inside. That's a bad time. I see Alan Claffey go way wide. He's just going to pull to a stop, I think. Whoa, car off again. Another one.
Mazda, I think, locked up.
Is that Boley again? Yes.
Yeah.
And getting dirt on the tires only makes it worse.
Oh, yeah. You guys be really careful.
Oh, you see how filthy dirty the Corkscrew is? It's covered in dirt right now. We'll right from on board here. And you can see how dirty the racing line is, and he's just going to slip on all that dirt, and that's what sent him around. So all the drivers that have gone off are not making this any easier for the drivers that are already having a hard enough time. For 2nd place, look at Tal Sadiq's gotten around Brou. Brou forces the Alessi wide down into turn 1.
They're catching some Mazda traffic here, and Mazda's actually kind of spread out, at least in this portion of the field.
Atkinson, who got damaged in that turn 1 collision with Christopher Lapris, going a lap down to the TCR field.
Amazing, he's still putting around there with that much damage.
No changes in GMX5. Alessandrini leads by 2.2 seconds over Halseal. Lanning is 3rd, 12 seconds back from the lead. The closest battle right now is this one. It's Barrett and Treacle side by side for 5th in class.
So Barrett's going to keep the spot. Treacle on the attack, trying to get up closer to the standings again, racing Alessi. Ika has a shot here if he can catch up to Alessi if they pass him. Looks like he has the pace in that 70 car.
Okay, so now the first couple minutes of this race have gone by. I think it's given drivers a little bit of time to kind of figure out what they've got. And you see now it's going to get really exciting down into the Corkscrew as everybody's here now. A couple more MX-5s, the 92 of Mark Labens, the 927 of Jeff Lewis. Whoa, let's see, real tight to the inside. Going to tag the 927, he's going to spin. And Lewis goes around, he's in the racing line at the exit of turn 9. That's a really difficult spot to get back rolling without getting in the way. It looks like he will accomplish that somehow. Guido Waxman around in the same corner.
These last few corners have been really tricky for all the Mazdas to navigate. A lot of incidents occurring there.
Oh, they're high-load corners. You got a lot of you're trusting the tires, all the mechanical grip that you have there, and some of the aero as well. And if you don't have all those things together, it's going to be a bad time. You see Tal Sadiq actually closing in on Elias Roman, was 2 seconds faster last time by. I don't know how much of that was traffic and how much of it was other factors, but he closed a bunch.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was traffic. Roman catching a brunt of the field. See Alessi on the back of Francois Brou trying to get 3rd place back.
Working by some more cars, and Brou gets the dirt out of turn 4 there, and that's going to open the door for Alessi down the inside into 5.
He goes deep on the brakes. Brou going to give him the room.
Got the spot.
Take it, yep.
TCR field still close together, and there is some battling within the MX-5 field. To see Paul Darnley working over Lex Kuricek for 5th.
Great comeback for Darnley considering the damage to the nose of that machine.
Yeah, it could have been a whole lot worse, with especially where he spun. It's a blind corner for drivers coming up over the top of the rise, and was thankfully out of the way most of the time. See his teammate Sam Scott just up the road. We haven't really talked about Sam Scott a whole lot. I think in seasons past he's been a lot more successful, but Sam Scott ran the Spec MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge. You see a big crossover, door-to-door, 3 wide at the exit of the corner.
Oh, the teammates almost got together. That could have been disastrous, and that's not what Darling needs, but he's going to back out, try to pick up a little bit of a toe down the front straightaway. As Scott and Kurczak are side by side.
And Scott's going to clear Kurczak. Kurczak's going to slide back over to the left. Sly Stafford's in the mix now at a number 719. That's that green car right in the back of this shot. And Lapras as well. They're going to get together up there. I think Kurczak missed a gear or two. Can't find a gear. It's going to get split 3 wide in absolute chaos through turns 2 and 3.
And that made Darling lose a spot to Sly Stafford, and you'll have to try to fight it back. And you see in the background, there come our TCR leaders.
Oh boy. Oh, Tolasity got the door slammed on him by the 6, but he works his way through. And now Elias Roman has a really interesting fight on his hands as these MX-5s are battling hard.
He's going to have to probably wait until the uphill section to really use the power in this TCR to muscle on past. He might be able to actually get on by, let's see, 1, 2, 3. Can he get to Sam Scott?
Not quite. He's got the tuck in line for Scott. Sadiq's going to be side by side with Darling. That's a terrible place to make that pass, but no real option there at that point. Francois Breu's around.
Oh, that's big. Running in 4th place.
This is he's going to be stuck here for a while. He's going to have to, I think he might just call it a night there with the frustration mounting. Oh, it was Darren Treacle that got off and tagged Breu and sent him hard into the concrete.
Interesting. So Breu is actually, so Treacle was ahead of Breu.
Yeah, Treacle was ahead of Breu somehow. So I think Breu had an issue earlier in the lap, and that let Treacle get out in front, and then Treacle's just going to probably run wide here. Yeah, just drives in too deep, gets off course. He's going to slide back on and just tag Breu and send him into the fence. So, leaders in GMX5 quickly. DJ Alessandrini 3 seconds out of Ken Ausile, but I do want to jump back here because this is getting wild again.
Yeah, we would have thought that the Monster race would have been a lot closer, but they're pretty spread out. At least the leaders are. In comparison to the TCR field, you see Darren Treacle chugging up the inside of Dennis Barrett. He'll get the spot.
Yeah, TCR's been wild tonight as well, just navigating the traffic. I didn't really think traffic would be this big of an issue, but because the MX-5 drivers are driving on what feels like ice tonight, it's just increasing that challenge. See, is that Paul Darling? Yeah, he's wide. He's going to spin. No, he'll stay on course behind him, the 33 car. That's Evan Schickel also sliding. He's going to loop it.
Take a shot every time a Mazda spins.
Well, you don't want to hurt people, Tinian. We claim no liability on that situation.
Yeah, this has been a struggle for
the problem is that every time the track gets dirty when someone drags the sand back on, it makes it even harder. In the past, the gravel on the track wasn't that big of an issue, but with the V7 tire model, one of the changes was making it more responsive to all that gravel and grass that you kick back up on the track. So drivers are really struggling. This is probably one of the worst places. Look how littered the side of the racetrack is with dirt. Elias Roman loves running out front right now. Has led every lap so far.
He's got quite a bit of clean air after getting through the Mazda leaders.
Back up onto the front straight.
See the gap between our TCR leaders. Elias Roman, Tala Sadiq, David Alessi, Darren Treacle, Dennis Barrett, your top 5.
On the front straightaway, 7 minutes left. And Roman continues to lead DCR. DJ Alessandrini, Ken Ausile running nose to tail, but by 2.8 seconds between them. Then it's 19 seconds back to Andrew Lanning, who slips wide.
That is a really big gap.
Yeah, and then another 6 seconds back to, or 4.6 seconds back to Sam Scott. Then another half a second to Christopher Lapras, who again started up in 3rd, spun out immediately down in turn 1, got caught up in a collision, and since then has been fighting his way back.
That's an amazing recovery, all things considered. Gonna eventually get past Sam Scott, I imagine, with the pace he had, driving all the way back up the 5th.
I thought this car would be a lot worse off than it is.
Yeah.
So considering that he's running inside the top 5, this is really probably a best case scenario after all that happened. Right behind you see Dave Fitzgerald. Been kind of a struggle today, hasn't had the pace. Last week it ran really well, ended up with a podium in race 2 at VIR, but this week really hasn't had the pace. A bit of struggle and whoop, tight. Turn 6 is so challenging. Look at the awkward hop through turn 6.
Yeah, they're lucky that orange curve hasn't really cut the TCR cars out. They've been able to take that curve without any real hardships.
And the Corkscrew down the hill, several story drop for Fitzgerald. Where else in MX-5? No one really battling. MX-5 is really spread out. I think everyone just wants space right now to figure this out. I mean, I think everyone knew that this is going to be a challenging week because there wasn't a lot of time to practice, wasn't a lot of time to wrap your head around how the way the car drives, and it's a lot harder than it was before. The MX-5 in the iRacing service is a rookie car. It's generally looked as easy to drive, but that is no longer with the way that they updated it. It skates around, and now it should be better. I mean, we're almost done with the race. You'd think it'd be there, but the driver is still struggling just because it's not what they're used to, I think. You see, Steve Mahler in the 49 has gone for a spin. Top of the hill into the Corkscrew. He's going to just tag the dirt. You see it just grab. Same thing Paul Darling did earlier in the night. It looks like that car is really damaged to steering. Oh, yeah. That car is far from drivable, I think. Might have to call this one a night. Sam Scott, Lapras in a great fight for fourth. And under 5 minutes remaining now.
Curious if Lapras is being patient. I mean, he can potentially try to get Sam Scott. He's also got Andrew Lanning right up, and then this is third, fourth, and fifth pretty much in your screen right there in the Mazda field.
Yeah, so there's Lanning, and actually at the back of the shot, you could also see Sly Stafford approaching, but Lapras taking a look into the Corkscrew. This is going to get dicey.
There it goes for the move. I'm going to get past Sam Scott with relative ease.
Yeah, actually, I think Scott gave it up there. Might have known that Lapras was a hair faster and didn't contest the spot. More cars, the cars are just littering the sides of the racetrack right now.
These guys want to do rallycross.
Yeah, that's Ito Waxman in the 30.
Going to struggle for him tonight.
Finding more grip out in the dirt than on the racetrack, I think.
Doing a Joker lap.
So Sam Scott now going to have the draft on the front straightaway. For the rest of the field, Elias Roman still leads Talladega by 1.8 seconds. DJ Alessandrini over Ken Hausil by 3.8 seconds.
Right behind them, Sly Stafford and Paul Darling going at it. Darling's got a run. Looks like he actually was struggling on the straightaway. I guess this is due to the nose damage he has.
Yeah, this damage is pretty crippling for Paul Darling. Now, I think for race 2, Paul will get the ship righted again, but it all started with that slip on the cold tires in the Corkscrew, and that put him way back. And he's not really been able to recover as well as Christopher Lapras, who avoided getting quite so much front-end damage. But now they're running Sly Stafford. I don't think Sly's going to stand much of a chance here.
Another thing Paul Darling's got to worry about is that behind him at the point is DJ Alessandrini, only 13 points behind.
Well, the way DJ's been running, I don't think that gap will exist very long.
Yeah.
Now, DJ at one point was kind of swapping between TCR and MX-5, and honestly, he could probably win the championship doing half and half the way he's been running lately, but doesn't quite seem to have worked out that way for him. David Alessi hits pit lane in the 34. Oh, you know what this could be, Finian? This could be, I don't know if he's getting service or not. There was a new penalty system put in this week, and it is in effect tonight. I do believe it's normal 17x, and then if you go over that every 5 or 6, it's a additional pass-through. So no more DQs, but I don't know. This could just be service for Alessi. I'm not exactly sure why. It could be a stop and hold.
I doubt he's getting service. I think the car looked fine.
Yeah, this could be a result of that penalty system, but with 2 minutes left, I don't know how much he'll be able to sacrifice, or get back, rather. Talladega has closed in on Elias Roman, and now the distance is only 0.7 of a second. It was 1.8 only a lap ago.
Yeah, I've been kind of noticing him.
He's big slide! Roman's going to give it all up in one corner. He's wide in the Corkscrew. Instead, he closes all the way down to about 0.2 of a second through the Corkscrew.
Yeah, I've been noticing
Whoa, is there damage? Elias Roman is all over the place right now. It looks like he might have some kind of damage. No, I don't know.
I think he's just messing up, missing his apex is really what it is.
Sliding everywhere. It's pit lane.
Okay, there has to be something. Unless
I thought that there was something wrong with the steering in this car, but no, it's driving full straight. Oh, you know what it could be here, Finian? This race was 20 minutes long. It was only supposed to be 15.
That's what I was wondering too.
It's only supposed to be a 15-minute race. I think there was a miscommunication somewhere because everyone's pitting now. Louis Alessi's on pit lane.
Well, Sadiq is staying out, and here's the thing.
Well, because some drivers might have filled up enough to make that extra 5 minutes. That's my guess as to what's going on.
Well, if Sadiq guessed right, he's only got to go about a lap, and he can actually afford to slow down a little bit and make this the last lap, so he doesn't have to go an extra one.
Yeah, again. Oh, he's got to be almost out of fuel. I noticed this when the green flag dropped that it was displaying 20 minutes, and I figured it had to be a mistake. I just didn't think about the drivers not fueling enough, because typically you only fuel the car just enough to make it to the end. This is a huge issue for a lot of these drivers, and I'm curious to see how this is going to be reflected in the points as Dave Fitzgerald is back on track.
Yeah, and he was struggling for a large part of this race. Was back in 10th.
And now he's up to 5th, and you know what? A lot of drivers might just fill a tank up with fuel because they don't care that much, and drivers that did do that are going to see a big payoff here. Darren Treacle, Dennis Barrett, they're nose to tail with 19 seconds left, and this should be the white flag lap if Sadiq slows down.
Oh yeah, he doesn't even need to slow down that much. He's definitely not going to make it back in 16 seconds, even at full wick. Here comes Treacle and Barrett going at it. Treacle having a tough time getting to the corkscrew, and Barrett rockets around him.
It'll be checkered flag this time through. Tala Sadiq in the 63. Will he have enough fuel to make it down the front straightaway one more time?
Well, he got to accelerate one more time down the straightaway. He's got a little bit of a gap.
Checkered flag. It's a 6.5 second gap for Sadiq over Barrett.
Yep, and he's accelerating, so he's going to make it.
To the checkers, Tala Sadiq is going to get it done. He'll outlast for second place, door to door, but Barrett, I think, is just going to get this with the extra fuel in that car. Elias Roman, who led the majority of this race, is going to roll on through, and he'll be a disappointing 4th after leading almost every single lap of this event. That's heartbreak for Roman.
Yeah, it really is, especially after such a good drive, and even for Sadiq, sorry, not for Sadiq, but even for David Alessi as well.
Calvin Wong in the 100 could get a 6th out of this. Shane Daggett in the number 67 right behind. This is for position. And there's some MX-5s in front. This is going to get dicey. Here comes Daggett up the inside. Wong leaves the inside open. That might have been a mistake. Final corner for these drivers now. Waiting!
Whoa.
No! Oh,
no.
Bowling ball.
Oh, that took out the 98 of Sam Scott. Yeah, and he's going to fall down the order. Paul Darling's going to get by and up into 5th from that.
Yeah, that was a big mistake. That was just a bowling ball situation there. Completely missed the breaking point and ended up taking out not only himself, but several
I was
others.
getting concerned because I saw him looking like going into, I guess, the dive bomb lane. you see him have a look up the... I was like, there's no way he's going to do it. And there he goes, very deep on the brakes, takes out Sam Scott and Lanning.
Not one of Daggett's better moments, I will say.
Yeah, so that helped out Parley Darling and gave him a 5th place finish.
We'll come across the line now and finish 8th. So with all that going on, I think there's going to be a lot of confusion surrounding this, what happened here. So essentially, this race was supposed to be 15 minutes. It was scheduled as 20. Easy mix-up, happens to everybody. The problem is the drivers didn't see it, didn't fuel up enough, and half the field ran out of fuel. DJ Alessandrini, he won, but only by a half a second in GMX5. He might have been out of fuel as well, so he just finished the race. And here's a look at your race results. Wow, I didn't realize how close it was between DJ and Ken. Going extra 5 minutes is a long way. That's about 3 laps.
Yeah. And the next race, 30 minutes.
It should be 20. Or is it it's scheduled to be 30?
It's scheduled to be 30. I'm looking here.
I don't think it was supposed to be different.
That's what I don't remember hearing anything about it being
I could be wrong, but I'm going to guess based on the guys running out of fuel that it was supposed to be 15 and 20.
Well, they better hope that they add fuel because they got to go 10 minutes extra in the second race.
Yeah, that was not, I don't think that was supposed to happen. Again, I mean, there's supporting documents that I should read. Well, while I'm reading this, we're going to just show you again the race information.
Yeah, it says here on the official thing that they sent out 15 and 20.
Yeah, 15 and 20. Okay, so it is a mistake. Just making sure, because I wanted to make sure that we didn't make a mistake. But yeah, that's a peculiar one. Well, oops.
Well, next race is going to be even longer, so
Yeah,
I hope they're prepared for that one.
Well, I think everyone will probably get the idea by that point and add some more fuel. But in the meantime, while we kind of figure out what's going on, and we'll bring you the updates here shortly. There's an issue with the timing and scoring, I noticed as well. Scoring, everyone, once they go a lap down to Tala Sadiq, everyone was showing a lap down, not to their respective class leader. So I must fix that in the off time here. So we'll be back in just a couple minutes for the start of race number 2. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a few minutes.
To most, driving is just a mundane task between point A and point B. Nothing more. It's the frustration of traffic at 8 a.m. The feeling of sickness on a long ride. The car? Just a tool. It's supposed to be practical, reliable, and fast. But the speed is really the reason cars exist. Born out of a necessity to make that A to B trip just a little bit faster. Some have a deeper connection with cars, found somewhere in the bond of man and machine, a desire to be part of something bigger than yourself. It's the extension of mind and body to something more exciting than just another appliance. And these people never cared about practicality or reliability. To them, the only thing that matters is speed. We're born with a competitive nature, part of a biological necessity that is not yet worn off with time. People have raced for thousands of years, and that competition has transcended history and found its way to the industrial age. Railroads raced to build across the country, replacing the horses whose strength is still used as a benchmark for power today. And as personal vehicles became popular, the railroads died off. What once was the quickest way across the country became snail's pace in comparison. The interstate highway system expanded and cars populated every driveway. And the competition between types of transport quickly transitioned into the race to have the fastest car. Bragging rights. Manufacturers like Porsche, Ferrari, and BMW emerged in auto racing, each trying to one-up the other. Building engines became an arms race. Who could build the fastest dinosaur-powered land? So while the passion for cars has died for most, there are still people that are fascinated by racing. The sights, the sounds, the smell of burning rubber and spent race fuel lingering in the air, this is what attracts us to the sport of auto racing. We are empowered by drivers that climb in impossibly fast cars and put everything on the line for the sake of competition. Drivers who know that one slip-up can lead to disaster. And for the longest time, wishing to be a race car driver was just a childhood dream. All we could ever be was a spectator. Opportunities? Limited and expensive. Reserved only for the who's who of the racing world. Until now.
got him over here.
He'll have to really go into 3. Here comes Tony Majewski. Can he close? Can he close? They launch on the track. And out of turn number 4, Noah Gregson wins the Snowball Derby.
Get your tickets now.
Before they were the racing legends we know today, they competed here in the Snowball Derby. Allison, Busch, Waltrip, Wallace, Kenseth, Pollard, and Gregson. The list goes on. The search for perfection continues at the 52nd Annual Snowball Derby, presented by BJ's Wholesale Club. The most prestigious short track race in America takes place December 4th through 8th at Five Flags Speedway. Be a part of racing history at Five Flags Speedway. Legends start here. For event information, visit snowballderby.com.
Welcome back live to SimTV in the Washington, D.C. region SCCA iRacing League, and we were confused at the tail end of race number 1 because the race was 5 minutes longer than expected, and yes, that was a mistake, and yes, race 2 is also set up for a 30-minute race, which is 10 minutes longer than normal, but all the drivers have been informed, and they have all been now told to put more fuel in their tank, so race number 2 tonight will be a 30-minute venture here in just a couple moments. So 4 minutes left in qualifying for race number 2, and no real surprises on top of the board right now. It's David Alessi in TCR and DJ. Actually, no, Chris Lapras in the 04 has gone quickest in GMX5. So kind of dethroned DJ there, but I'm not sure how long that's going to stay, as Alessandrini still looks like he's getting warmed up.
So you can put in a flying lap here at the closing laps of the session.
Head down the hill.
He's going to make up 0.2 of a second over Lapras.
Yeah, it's really not that much, all things considered. So I trust that he'll get that car back up to speed. So what we saw in race number 1, Finian, no real surprise after the update just the other day. We saw, oh, well, there goes DJ.
He's got time to get back up there.
As I was saying,
Gotta hurry though.
It's challenging to lap this track in the GMX5 car. Very slidey, slippery on cold tires, and once it gets up to temp, it still doesn't seem like it gets all that much easier. I think the dirt on track is making things that much worse. So race number 2 is certainly going to be a big challenge. Tal Sadiq was your race 1 winner in the number 63. We'll see this time without the advantage of having a fuller fuel tank if he can do the same and sweep both races as Tom O'Gorman did last week. Elias Roman led almost the entire event, ended up finishing out in 4th after race number 1.
So after the last race, DJ Alessandrini took the lead of the MX5 class. However, in the points, however, Kate now is 1 point behind him. Darling 4 points behind Alessandrini, so very close up there.
Well, Alessandrini's been making up that deficit for a couple weeks now. He came from a long ways back, too.
And Houseel actually only 7 points behind Alessandrini as well, so very close.
It is close, but yeah, I just think it's going to be so hard to beat DJ on a consistent basis, and he's come from so far back. It's going to be a challenge to beat him, and again, he's never lost anything on the SimTV network other than the Grid Life iRacers Stadium Super Truck nonsense that they did. Every other thing he's won. Nope. He's never lost anything, any championship on this network that we've streamed in full.
What about the Grid Life thing?
Does that count? It's 4 races.
I mean, then you're getting semantics.
Hartley won that. I don't really count losing to Hartley, though. I mean, that's kind of a given. All right, well, minute 50 left in qualifying, and so I also have to address the timing and scoring situation. I'm not sure if there was something that was changed or what else is going on, but the timing and scoring is supposed to report lap times to the class, or not lap times, but the gap to the class leader even once they go a lap down. That clearly is not the case tonight. I thought it was working at VIR last week. It was an adjustment I made there. Doesn't seem to have taken. And I don't know what else I can do because it's set up correctly in the script. But I apologize for that, but we'll try to keep you in tune. I promise you if there's a battle somewhere, we're going to try to find it as quickly as possible, so I promise you're not missing out on a whole lot of stuff. Alessandrini is on a flying lap now, but he's in behind 719, a Sly Stafford. See, there's David Alessi going to open the door for DJ, but he had to kind of pinch it off on exit to avoid getting into the 719. Paul Darling looking for a little bit of recovery. I'm going to update that. Looking for a little bit of an adjustment after disastrous, well, I don't want to say disastrous, a poor race 1 after getting into the wall in the Corkscrew.
And could have been a lot worse, could have been a lot better, obviously. He still finished in 5th. But again, when he was fighting Alessandrini, especially considering Alessandrini overtook him in the point, he's got a lot more to make up. And I mean, he's definitely got the pace. If anything, he's been running with Houseel and Alessandrini. He's on pace with those two. So if he can stay with them, potentially pass Alessandrini later in the race, he could end up victorious.
Darren Treacle in the number 70 ran pretty well this season overall, but hasn't quite gotten the finishes he deserves and got loose and got into Francois Brou in race number 1. I think he's just looking to finish this one without a whole lot of conflict this time. Currently 5th on the board in qualifying. Dave Fitzgerald, the 91. Where's he been today, Finian? Ended up finishing okay, but just not a whole lot of pace this week. And he's been pretty quick lately, so tonight doesn't seem to have been his night. And currently last Off by about 4 seconds off of David Alessi's best time, but still probably warming up those tires here. This is like a jet engine. Onto the brakes, down the hill. Tiptoeing here. Seems like he's off throttle. Taking it real easy right now. Big slot. Okay, that's why. Hey, let's take a look at our track conditions because we haven't yet. No real change, 70 to 80. That's no big change. It's about 65, 74 before. A little bit warmer. Charles Boley in the 10 had a disastrous race 1, looking to improve on his night. Josh Cade now again was the points leader heading into race 1, is no longer the points leader, and it's been a struggle for him, I think, to get this tire under control too.
Currently 20th in class in qualifying. We'll see here if he can potentially jump further up the grid if he can complete this lap.
Just trying to get kind of a visual on the steering to see how much these guys are really fighting it. But it seems like once you're up to speed, it's fine. It's just those first couple laps that you're just driving on ice, and it's just a challenge to get it under control. Across the line for Caden now. Will it be an improvement? His best previously was a 147.799. Now it'll be a 141.542, which will put him 8th in class.
Yeah, that's more we expect to see him. Also, Kenny O'Seal across the line. He jumps up into 2nd place, overtaking Allison Durney and Darling.
Zach Rubin in the number 7 car, working his way around course.
Seeing where he comes across the line through the final corner for him.
And whoa, big power slide out of, you call it a power slide, Indiana. Fun slide as he comes out of turn 11 across the line. Not going to make it.
So
not going to make it. All right, qualifying complete. Let's head down to the grid here and get them lined up. This, again, is a 30-minute race, which is 10 minutes longer than it was scheduled to be. All the drivers have been informed. All the drivers have put in more fuel. At least I hope they've been paying attention.
I hope so. I imagine they probably said, just make sure to add more
Well,
gas.
that's one of the things is it tells you how long the race is. Drivers are just so used to not having to check that they didn't, and again, part of that's on the driver. I mean, there was a little bit of responsibility there to know what you're getting into. Obviously, it was a mistake, but some drivers figured it out, some drivers didn't. The drivers that figured it out ended up winning. So we'll head down to the grid here. We'll roll through our starting lineup on the front row, of course. It's going to be David Alessi right alongside Elias Roman. Elias Roman got pole at the closing moments of qualifying and didn't end up winning race 1. I think he's out for revenge in race 2.
Moving on back to row number 2, Francois Brew in 69, seeing if he can make up for what happened to him in race number 1. And speaking of race number 1, Tal Sadiq, our race 1 winner, will be starting outside him in 4th.
Row number 3, Darren Treacle in the number 70, right alongside Dennis Barrett in the number 20. Barrett, one of the drivers that used to run real good in these top classes and hasn't quite figured out this car. We'll see if he can do it a little better in race 2.
And then moving on back to 7th place, got Calvin Wong in the 100 car, and outside of him, Louis Alessi in 8th.
Dave Fitzgerald's going to round out the tail end of the TCR field, and Christopher Lapras won pole for race 2. Lapras, remember, lost control, got kind of turned around in turn 1, lap 1 last time. I think he is a favorite to win this race if he could just stay under control that first lap. I think he could beat Dave Alessandrini. Your thoughts on that number 04?
Yeah, I think he's got what it takes. Again, I had real unfortunate luck, but I think he's definitely got the pace. We saw, again, VR really showed that he had pace in the MX-5, and still the same even on this new tire model for him.
Another look at our track conditions again. 10 miles an hour wind out of the northwest, partly cloudy skies, relatively cool conditions here for Monterey. And we'll take another look at our track map as well. 11 corners, 2.2 miles. With the famous Corkscrew, of course, the biggest challenge, and that was a trouble spot, but the bigger trouble spot was turns 8, 9, and 10, the last really trio of corners after the downhill from the Corkscrew. That was really what was catching drivers outfitting because of the high mechanical grip required and the low mechanical grip available to you in the MX-5 when it's cold.
Yeah, that last sector of the track was really treacherous for the MX-5 drivers. We'll see if they've taken what they learned from race 1. I think that was a big learning experience, first race they've had as a group on this new tire model. We'll see if they took what they learned and are able to improve that and we see less incidents.
I don't think we'll see that. I think we're going to see just as much slipping and sliding around. I mean, again, it's going to take a lot longer than 20, 30 minutes to get yourself comfortable with this. This is not a slight tire model change. This is a fundamental rewrite of your brain to redrive this car. I mean, I got in this, I thought it was broken. I mean, I thought there was something legitimately wrong with this car when I got in. Well, it turns out it's not the case, but it just drives a lot differently. Is it more realistic? Yeah, I think a lot of drivers would say that. We heard Tom O'Gorman say that this is more what he'd expect out of the car. Jackson Robillard said the same thing. He drives this car in the real world. I know DJ Alessandrini has echoed similar comments, but it's an entirely different experience, and nothing transfers over. So if you were good in this car before, you could be absolute garbage now. I mean, there's nothing that transfers. Complete and utter rewrite, and that's what the biggest challenge has been so far. Turn 6. Saw a lot of weird, awkward multi-class actions through here. A little bit clumsy for the TCRs.
I'm actually surprised we didn't see more wrecks, because that corner is really treacherous trying to pass people, and we've seen a lot of wrecks.
I think
with
the
that.
one thing that helps that corner is people know it's treacherous, so they go in there a little bit extra careful. Downhill after the corkscrew, we have seen a lot of cars
break loose.
Yeah, and you'd think the corkscrew would be the trouble spot. And there was a couple spins through here, but it was really the corners after it that caught people off guard, because you think you're through the corkscrew, okay, good, we're done with the lap. I think the final sector is the most challenging one here.
No, you're definitely not wrong there. It's such a high load on the car. Pretty much where most of the high downforce corners are. On track, not a lot, but that's pretty much where they all are in this last sector.
Yeah, there's banking there as well, so that's available for drivers that, should they lean on the car a little bit too hard, you can kind of save you a bit. But it's Elias Roman in the 99 who's on pole. He led almost every lap in race number 1. Probably should have gone to victory lane, just didn't have the car fueled enough for the extra couple laps. I think he's got it fueled up now. Green flag flies and racing again at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Much smaller gap this time for the MX-5s behind him as well. They left a huge gap for race 1, not quite so big this time.
There we go, Tal Sadiq into the inside of Francois Brou, almost making contact. David Alessi gets shoved out wide in the corner. Everyone's going to make it through in the TCR field through lap 1. Let's look back at the MX-5 field as they come on through.
Oh no, this is going to be big through the middle of the field. Oh, he's going to back right through it, tag Sam Scott and more. And Bully's going to just get through it, but we knew that was going to be bad when we saw the car sideways.
And Lapras around again.
Oh, Sly Stafford's in it and everybody.
And I think Ken Houseel was in the mix as well.
Yeah, Houseel got
He's
turned around.
In the background there, that red car.
Francois Brou has got damage. He's going to pull off to the side. DJ Alessandrini's pulled clear in GMX5, but a frantic start. And I told you, Finney, it was going to get messy. I didn't think it was going to be that bad, though. Hayden now up to 4th in class. Great start for him. He's got Waxman behind him.
Alessandrini, Lanning, Darling, Hayden and Waxman, your top 5 in MX5.
Oh, Louis Alessi's around.
Ooh.
This isn't a bad spot. He's off to the right here, and the GMX5 field's going to be coming into the picture here shortly. And he's going to pull away, as Alessandrini should be cresting the hill here any moment. There he is. You see how few cars have made it to this point in the race, and we're not quite done. That's is that Sam Scott? I think it is. Ken Houseel's trying to work his way back through the field.
It's Kurishek that went around.
So lap 1 complete, 28 minutes to go, and all right, I think we're done with the mess. Andrew Lanning is now going to be 2nd in category, and that's going to bring Paul Darling right in. And Darling has a great opportunity to grab some points back with all the drivers around him having issues.
Yeah, and the problem, though, is eyes going to be on Alessandrini, not so much everyone else. Alessandrini now the points leader and needs to finish ahead of him.
Whoa. Drove in real deep on Lanning, had to back out. Lanning was 3rd to Alessandrini and Houseel for the majority of race 1, but was about 12-13 seconds back, was never really a factor. They've already lost 2 seconds to DJ.
Darling's faster, though, needs to try to find a place to get by Lanning. Oh, landing in the sand.
Yeah, no grass around here. That's some funny looking grass.
Yeah, he got sideways, but not enough for Darling to get on by, so they're losing quite a bit of time in behind here.
It's not Kentucky. It's not Kentucky bluegrass. It's California brown grass. Darling tucked in behind for turn 6. Much better line than Lanning. Lanning's going to drop a wheel. And still has the wheel dropped off. Louis Alessi again in the corkscrew. Same spot.
Liking this corner. He's definitely going to have the MX5 field come through.
Yeah, here they
come.
come.
Be careful where he comes out. There's Alessandrini and the leaders.
Alessi's going to start to get rolling here as the middle of the MX-5 field comes over the crest. Ken Ausiel has pulled his car off.
Wow, there's a 22-second gap between 7th and 8th place.
Yeah, well, because again, it was all those cars that went off in the early going, and look how spread out the field is now.
Oh, never mind, I corrected it. It's much less, but still, they're fairly spread out after all the chaos that went on.
Yeah, so take a look at how spread out the field is. I know this is kind of a laggy map, but there's cars all over this racetrack. Every corner of it, except for that middle sector right now. Very busy place right now. Up in front, Talas Sadiq continues to lead. Darren Treacle's in second. He's got Dennis Barrett all over him, though. That is for second in category. Elias Roman, who is your pole sitter, has slid back to fourth.
Yeah, they got 6 of the TCRs in the leading group, 6 seconds between them, and a few more guys scattered further on back.
Into the braking zone, Treacle tucks it in tightly for the Corkscrew, and Barrett chasing down the hill. You see all that gravel in the Corkscrew. That's been a challenge for especially the MX-5s tonight. They've not been able to get grip on all that dirt. Barrett's driving it a little bit harder than Treacle right now. Elias Roman, I think, has had more issues. Dropped behind David Alessi, potentially a slowdown there for him. Now on the front straight, 25 minutes to go. Barrett in behind, and he started tonight in 6th in class up to 3rd, so he's got his car going in the right direction. You see the leader, Talas Sadiq, right there in front of him.
His top 3 all together are leaders, separate from the rest of the TCR field. See if Treacle can try to make something out of this run, potentially go and attack Sadiq up ahead. He's keeping the gap at the moment, actually was faster last lap by 3/10 of a second.
Yeah, both second and third were faster than the leader. We've got about 8 or 9 retirements after lap number 2, so things not going great for most of the field. Paul Darling has driven up into second. Andrew Lanning has fallen to third and is now under potentially attack from Caden now, because Caden now is running, well, should be running a little bit quicker here once he gets back up to pace. Just got to keep an eye on these top 3, the podium drivers in TCR. They're accordioning back together.
You see Barrett in the background having a look on Treacle, too far behind to make a move.
Yeah, Treacle's going a little bit defensive into the Corkscrew, and that is hurting his exit speed, just enough to let Barrett stay tight with him through the final sector. And 24 minutes left now.
You're seeing their lap times again once they get back to the strike.
Yeah, tonight has not been necessarily a wheel-to-wheel racing night. It's been just a night of attrition, a night of survival, staying out of trouble, and keeping yourself out of other class business.
And one thing I think will help is the MX-5 field, I think, pretty much on purpose, stayed pretty close to the TCR field, as close as they really could, to make sure that they get to them further on in the race and less often.
Right. I think that was the biggest struggle in race 1, as we saw quite a few cars get lapped by the TCR so early in the race. They hadn't let the tires get up to temp yet. It was just a mess. That time by, it was Treacle that was the quickest of the top 3, but David Alessi in 4th is actually the quickest of the TCR drivers last lap. So again, he's been starting up front and really probably deserves to be running higher up, just hasn't had the consistency and has been making mistakes. But he is overall the quickest driver on track right now.
Yeah, again, not too terribly far behind, 3.5 seconds back, but if he keeps putting in fast laps at the pace he's going, he should definitely get up to them. He's got 20 minutes to do it.
Riding on board here through turn 6 in the TCR. It's a slight dab on the brakes, swing to the left. Use the curb on exit. Then up the hill towards the Corkscrew. This is a challenging corner because your front end gets light. That's where all your braking power is. That's where all your power is.
I was gonna say, that's where really everything is. The rear wheels just kind of hang on. In
rear wheels are like training wheels on this car. You don't really need them. They're just kind of there to balance out the weight. You can put a counterweight on the front of this thing, it wouldn't drive any different. It would just be bicycling around on 2 wheels. I know that because they can do 3 wheels just fine.
You definitely see visually that Leslie's made up a lot more time, the lap time than the line.
Yeah, so 1:31.8 for Sadiq last time by, a 1:30.864. His fastest lap of the race as Louis Alessi hits pit lane. Potentially to fix up some damage, potentially a penalty there as well. And we've seen a lot of drivers hit pit lane for all sorts of reasons. I think for race 1 it was mostly fuel related. Again, there is a new penalty system enforced If you go over the incident limit that has been set, it is now a drive-through penalty. If you hit every 5 or 6 incidents after that, you have to return back to pit lane to serve another penalty. So top 4 in TCR, mighty close. I cannot say the same about GMX5. Alessandrini has been the dominant car tonight, 2.7 out in front of Darling now. Andrew Lanning, 3.6 beyond that.
Yeah, and Alessandrini's been about a tenth or so quicker than Darling every single lap. So he's been slowly pulling away from the 155. So Darling not closing in, and here come some TCR cars in behind.
That's Francois Brou in one of them. The other car is Elias Roman, who's 5th. Is that Elias Roman? It is Elias Roman. Oh no, that's Calvin Wong in the 100. They do look. They're running very similar schemes. But Francois Brou all the way back. He's 9th in class. Not been the start of the night. He got taken out of race 1. Nothing of his doing. Nothing he did wrong. Now some lap traffic for the TCR leaders as negotiated on the front straightaway.
This is where it's going to get interesting here.
In the braking zone, that is, I believe that's the 6. Oh, it's a 31 car. That's being driven by Lex Kuracek. Same driver, just different number this time. Whoa, in front of him! Right in front of the leaders!
Sadiq involved. He made contact with that MX-5. He goes out of line. Treacle going to take the lead, and here comes Barrett now trying to do the same.
Oh, man. Treacle's going to sneak on through. Sadiq gets roughed out of the lead. Up the inside again to try to take the lead back. Can't do it. Barrett still 3rd, unable to capitalize on this. And now David Alessi's right in the mix. We're going to take you back in just a moment and show you what happened. I'm afraid to pull away, but I think I have to. Let's go back.
I think Sadiq's got some damage.
I think he does too. How did this? Oh, it was the 8 car that was being driven by Flipski. And we'll look from up above. This is what it looked like.
Yeah, you see the 8 car just get into the sand up ahead, get sideways straight into Sadiq, and I think that's why we saw Sadiq start to slow down.
Yeah, he's got
some
big,
damage.
big time damage.
Oh, yeah. In the right front.
Yeah, Francois Flipski is also going to be probably done for the night. And Sadiq, after winning race 1, gets caught up in a collision in turn 2 on lap 7.
Yeah, and not just even winning race 1, was leading in race 2 pretty solidly. Could have taken all the way to the checkered flag, but lap car getting into him, that's going to end his night.
And again, usually the MX-5s wouldn't make a dent to the TCRs, but he got hit right in the suspension.
Yeah.
If you get it on the bodywork, this thing will shrug it off like it's no big deal. It's like a tank in that regard, but you get it on the suspension, it's a pretty fragile beast. Up in front, Darren Treacle, one man's trash, another man's treasure, drives up to the front, leads the way, and began to pull away from Dennis Barrett just a touch.
Yeah, and I was going to say, too, that right before, and I guess I'm glad I didn't, is that we didn't see a whole lot of the TCRs and MX-5s colliding in the last race, other than really at the end. If anything, it's been interesting because a lot of TCRs get held up, and then it brings them closer and further apart.
Again, the TCRs are a lot larger physically than the MX-5s. I mean, look at that. It's like a toy car. That's the 56 going a lap down. That is being driven by Richard Spicer. But the TCRs are a lot bigger, so they don't feel necessarily the momentum transfer quite so much when they get hit. They don't really get phased. It's really just if you get them in the sensitive parts, which in this case would be either the nose or the suspension. You see David Alessi closing in now for 3rd. And Alessi started on the front row in both races tonight, but needs a little bit of help to get back up to the top spot. Treacle negotiating traffic through the corkscrew. Challenging spot to do it. Car off, and that's in the dirt. That's the 1. Guido Waxman.
Actually, it's unfortunate because he's having a really good race running. I think they're on 6th or 5th.
David Alessi all over Dennis Barrett. They both close in on Treacle. Treacle runs wide to get around a MX-5.
And you don't even have to look that far back from the 34 because there's Elias Roman in the picture. So we got 4 TCRs here at the front. All nose to tail. 17
minutes to go, and the TCR lead is quite convoluted. Paul Darling has closed in slightly on DJ Alessandrini. That gap is 1.8 seconds. We will take you there if there becomes a battle. The Treacle's now through Sam Scott, and Barrett and Alessi have to duke it out to see who's going to get to go by the 98. It will be David Alessi. And Elias Roman tries to shove his way.
Whoa.
Oh, they're going to crash. There they go.
There they go.
Oh. Saw that one coming. I think Barrett tried to crowd Roman off the course and just wasn't able to do that, and was trying to keep Elias Roman from getting there, but I think he just kind of did that to himself here, Finney. He's going to see the 98. He's going to turn left and just keeps coming left, 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 left. Where's the 99 supposed to go? I mean, he's there. But Barrett drops to 4th, and that was a tire wall. He might be okay with a little bit of damage on that car. Checking back in GMX5, DJ Alessandrini.
And actually, Darling's catching back up.
Yeah,
surprisingly.
quite quickly.
0.6 of a second. I think it was a mistake on Alessandrini's part the last lap, though.
It could be. He doesn't have a scratch on that car, but Paul Darling continues to close and close quickly.
If he can get into that drafting range, it'll help him even more to get closer.
And behind all this, there's Caden now and Schickel in the 33. These guys are battling, and I believe both these cars were involved in incidents in race 1, so looking for a bit of redemption. And out of turn 11, Caden now a bit slow, and Schickel gets the run. Oh boy, there goes second and third in TCR. Actually, first and second. Look at David Alessi. He's caught up to Darren Treacle now.
And there goes David Alessi on the outside. Treacle going to fence into the inside, into the Andretti hairpin.
Schickel's gotten around Caden now, and now Josh has got to deal with Elias Roman, who's going to just slip on through. This is going to be a great battle already shaping up here between Treacle and Alessi. Both these drivers on pretty even playing field throughout this season. Not a huge pace difference between these guys. And for the lead in TCR.
Here's where Alessi is going to plan on making his move here, riding him behind Treacle. There's not a whole lot of really good passing spots on the track.
No, this is a challenging racetrack to pass at. Your real good opportunities are really essentially into turn 1.
Yeah, turn 1.
And the final corner, really. I mean, you can pass other places.
Yeah, you could do it in the first turn.
It's just a little bit... The corkscrews the place. I mean, you can pass it in every corner. You just got to be really gutsy to do it. I think your best opportunities are the first and last corner. I mean, this track is well wide enough that you can make it work anywhere. It's just a matter of whether or not it's a good idea to do it. Let's see, tucks it in. A bit of understeer through the middle of the corner there. Gonna run wide on exit. Another car up the road that they got to deal with. Paul Darling, 0.8 of a second back from DJ Alessandrini, continuing to run much faster laps. Ran almost his best time. Actually, it was his best time. It just wasn't a legal best time. It was a 1:39.776. And now back within draft range of Alessandrini. So we could see a changing of the guard here in this race. Remember how close Paul Darling is the lead in the standings. This could help him. I know he's going to have to beat DJ by more than this the next couple of races, but if you go up there and pass DJ Alessandrini, you're doing something good.
It's definitely going to help him out if he can get by Alessandrini rather than finishing behind. It is really, really close between them. So every little point helps.
As that closes, so does TCR. Into turn 6. Not a great run up the hill for Alessi. Dropped a couple tenths of a second. He gained about half a second through the first sector, lost it all in the middle, and you see both these leaders are approaching the MX5 leaders now. See, now this is working correctly. The timing and scoring I'm referencing. I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, Alessi's tucked in behind Treacle as you see the MX5 leaders up the lane. That is Alessandrini and Darling. 13 minutes to go. We're just past halfway here. Now the straightaway is going to be where Paul Darling is going to gain the most. Still quicker than DJ, only by a couple hundredths that time.
I'm really impressed by Darling. I thought from the beginning of the race, it looked like Alessandrini was just going to walk away with this, but Darling's been able to really pick up the pace here and catch up to the 61. Here come the TCR cars
This is
around
going to hurt Alessi big time. Really going to hurt Alessi. Treacle's going to get kind of the best of both worlds, get on by DJ quite easily.
It's also going to be key for Darling to make sure that Alessandrini struggles in behind traffic, but he was actually able to let those guys on by without any trouble.
Yeah, so actually both second place cars didn't really benefit from that, but that's the nature of multi-class racing. Look who's approaching. Elias Roman last time by was 0.4 of a second quicker than both the TCR leaders, and he slides on through, and Lee is coming and coming fast.
And actually that forced Alessandrini out of line a little bit. Here comes Darling now with a run.
Now, I just wonder, I don't think Darling is going to go anywhere with this, because I think he knows how hard DJ is to beat. He might just be willing to stick in behind for a couple laps.
Yeah, well, this is crucial because they're really closing the gap significantly more so than it was before. Now down to 2-3 tenths of a second between them.
And David Alessi looking for a way around Darren Treacle. Elias Roman closing quickly. Remember, Roman was quickest in race 1 and won pole for race 2, so he's really the driver to beat tonight.
Yeah, and actually Elias Roman holds the fastest lap of the race.
No surprises.
I would think that Alessi should try to get by Treacle as soon as possible because I think Elias is a bigger threat than Treacle.
I'd definitely say that that's the case, but Alessi's got to focus here, though. These guys fight too much. It's going to let Elias get close. So if he wants to make this pass, he's got to get it done fast. Again, Elias Roman that time at 1:31.829 compared to Alessi's 1:32.469. He's going to be there within a lap and a half here. Maybe even sooner.
Yeah, I'm curious what he's going to throw into the fray here, making it a three-way battle for the lead overall. Still with 10 minutes remaining.
Les has got a pretty good run here, but there again, no place to pass. This is probably one corner where you really can't pass the same class car without driving yourself both off course. So I think Alessi's going to... Yeah, I mean, you can pass a multi-class car there, but only if you're really, really careful. Oh, Treacle, is he in too deep? Oh, he's in way too deep.
Oh, yeah.
Bye, Treacle.
Overshoot the corner.
And that'll be a slowdown as well. He's going to lose a spot to Elias Roman as he slides on through.
And under pressure, Darren Treacle cracked. He's going to drop all the way back to third.
Yeah, so that's going to leave Alessi as your leader, but Elias Roman's still flying right now and on pace to win this race if he continues. Paul Darling is keeping DJ in touch, but I think Alessandrini's... Whoa, that was really close to disaster.
He is really pushing. He's dropping wheels off everywhere, and Darling looking a lot more composed.
Paid for the whole racetrack, might as well use it.
I don't know if that includes the sand.
Well, it doesn't include the sand, he does.
It'd be funny they charge you for, you know how some tracks charge you for messing up.
Yeah, $5.99 every time you drop a wheel. Every 1X is $5.99.
They charge you for messing up the sand instead of the grass.
It resets after a couple minutes, doesn't it? Be nice if we did that in real life. Called minimum wage labor. Darling tucked in behind is still just keeping Alessandrini honest, but really hasn't shown to be a massive contender. He hasn't been able to pass him yet. I don't know if he's just hanging out and not trying to pass him. Seems like that'd be the smart thing to do.
I think that's probably what he might be up to, just kind of sitting in behind. If anything, put pressure on the 61.
Andrew Lanning is 12 seconds behind. Dennis Barrett, he's fourth in class, and he is 17 seconds behind your top three.
He's in no man's land. Well, as far as TCR cars are concerned, he's within a myriad of MX-5s. And speaking of MX-5s,
Richard Spicer and Steve Mahler in the 49. Actually, that's Waxman. Yes.
Steve Mahler behind
Oh,
him
it's all three of those cars. I was trying to figure out who was missing. And Sly Stafford at the back of that shot, top of your screen. He's in this battle. This is for 9th in class. And Waxman's got a ton of damage on that nose, probably from that collision in the corkscrew that he had, so Spicer shouldn't have too much trouble getting around him, but taking him more than a second.
Last lap through, Waxman actually went faster, so that one still got some pace regardless of the damage to his nose.
Oh,
Someone,
that didn't sound good.
yeah, someone broke something.
I think for Waxman, it's just weight reduction. What you lose in aero, you gain in losing 20 pounds. 7.5 minutes to go, and Alessandrini and Paul Darling. Darling is so close. I do see Lex Kuracek in pit lane. I think this is a recent entry to pit lane. I think this is what we heard.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That was a loud bang. Downshifting too much will always get you. As for the lead, Paul Darling in GMX5 all over DJ Alessandrini.
Hear the tires squealing as they work through the corner. He's not letting Alessandrini out of his sights now that he's got up so close.
On the brakes, gonna tuck it in.
Problem really is going to be where to pass Alessandrini because, like we were talking about earlier, he's not going to make it easy.
Dab on the brakes. Maybe too early of a turn in for Darling. Alessandrini got a slightly better run off. There's Tomo peeking over the Pirelli logo on there. down the hill. They're just so even. No one can get an advantage right now.
And I think I'm curious because I think actually we're on the TCR card. We get a reference for them.
They're down in turn 1 and 2 right now. Not sure if we'll. I don't think we're definitely not going to see another lap here. Now, look. So front straightaway with about 6.5 minutes to go, Paul Darling is going to have a significant draft. Question is, will it be enough to get alongside DJ? And outbraking him is almost a no-go. You're going to have to really chuck it in there and force DJ to give it up, and I don't think DJ is quite going to do that.
I think Darling's being patient with us, and I'm not entirely sure that's the best decision or not.
Waiting for a mistake, but they're rare. Dave Fitzgerald, 5th in class in TCR, is about to approach these guys from behind. New lighting update really looks good. A lot brighter looking. Oh, there's Fitzgerald. Going for a slide out of turn 4.
And for a really long slide, you can see the tire tracks a little bit.
5.5 minutes to go now. David Alessi leads in TCR. Elias Roman's advances have been pushed back. 132.0 last time. David Alessi at 131.6. So Roman not able to close. Maybe burned up his tires.
That, and I think some lap traffic might be coming into play because I think they're working through a good amount of MX-5s at the moment.
Probably got a great run through the corkscrew. He's gonna have a spectacular run here as he heads into 11. Setting him up for that turn 11 pass. On the last lap, he might go for it. He's gonna try it here. No, he's gonna fake out DJ. Slight bump to the rear bumper.
Really loud sound for how small of a bump that was.
And here comes Dave Fitzgerald and blow right on by him.
I was going to say you actually could potentially try to get by and Dave to maybe get a little bit of a toe down.
The speed difference is almost too much for that to really make a huge difference. But Paul's there, and that was a little hello bump to DJ, who's been out front and untouched since the drop of the green flag. Putting the pressure on DJ now. This is a great battle. One of the better ones we've seen this season in GMX5 specifically. Didn't quite get down to the apex as well as DJ did.
It's one of the closest battles on the track. Everyone fairly spread out at the moment.
Oh, man. Yeah, this is the closest battle on the racetrack, or at least the one that we're going to be watching, because it is for the class lead. 3 minutes and 45 seconds to go. See these cars dive on the suspension. A lot of travel on these cars. And lower nose heights than they used to be on the older tire. The setups needed some adjustments, so it's even harder to clear those red anti-cut curves now. A little sloppy there for the 155. Just watching him try to set this up, there is so much focus going on inside this car right now to be hitting the... Laguna Seca is not an easy track to get right for 20 laps, and that's how long we've been going for, 18 laps so far. It's difficult to not make mistakes. There's so many places where you can just slip up a little bit and go wide. It's very much like VIR in that respect. If you go wide here, you're going to have a bad time.
These guys are going to have 3 laps to go as they work across the line.
And no challenge in TCR right now. This is also your closest battle in GMX5, so we will stay here. Bring it to you. A little bit of dirt on the right side tires for Alessandrini as he exits turn 2. Here, both of them lift, but they weren't confident getting back to the throttle. Maybe some understeer showing through on these cars by this point in the race. Now Darling setting up, but he gets to him and then just can't do anything with them. So I think his plan, will be to try to do what he did a few laps ago and have a run going into 11 and just send it in there and force DJ to kind of bail out of the corner. I think that's really the only chance you're going to have.
I think at this point he's just waiting for the last lap. I feel like if he was going to make a move, I feel like he would have done it by now. He's had quite a few runs that I think he's kind of killed off on purpose, just waiting for the last second.
They would have been maybe a little bit optimistic had he made those moves, but into the corkscrew now. Alessandrini got to the throttle just a hair sooner there, and that carries for the entire sector. How much you get back on that throttle, how soon you get back on it. Curbs are very well placed around here. They seem to be in very natural positions when you slide out to corner exit. This will be 2 laps to go for GMX5, and Paul Darling is there. And I think you're right, Finian, just waiting for an opportunity. Richard Spicer and Steve Mahler trading spots again, 9th and 10th, these two.
Actually, we were looking at these guys earlier, and Waxman was there. He's actually dropped back in behind / oh, he's in the pits.
Yep, getting service on that car, getting the nose put back on it as well. And here for the lead, Paul Darling took a look.
Have another look down at turn 3. There he goes. Nope, gonna.
We go away from these guys for 2 seconds, and they start trying to pass each other. That's why we can't pull the cameras off them. Into 4. Wow, Darling just drove it in deep there. He's going to pay for it on exit and run wide.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit big there. He's going to lose quite a bit of time down the straight. They're going to have to build that all back up.
Oh, man. Right out to the very edge of the curb. Meanwhile, up in front, David Alessi comes on through. It's a 1-second gap dealing with traffic. That's the 33 of being driven by, I should know this off the top of my head, I don't. Evan Schickel, that's correct. Elias Roman has closed, but I don't think it's going to be enough.
No, he actually got held by Schickel through turn 4. That cost him quite a bit of time. But David Alessi's done a fantastic job. I thought Elias Roman would have caught up to him and passed him, but not the case.
Final lap for the TCR leaders. For GMX5, they've got a lap and a quarter as they come on through to turns 10 and 11. Alessandrini has led the majority of this race. Paul Darling so close and using every inch of the racetrack plus some to get right on DJ's bumper for this final lap. He's got 2.2 miles and 11 corners to get it done. He's wheeling this thing to get up there.
Rode over the red curve trying to get a run on Alessandrini. Here he goes. You might see a pass down to turn 1. White flag for these guys.
I don't know if he'd do it that early. I mean, I think at this point, if he's waited this long, he's going to wait until DJ doesn't have a chance to get it back.
The run, there's the look.
He braked early. DJ left the door open because I think he's trying to bait Paul into taking that spot, but Paul's not going to take that bait. Checkered flag waves for David Alessi. Comes on through. He won at Summit Point. He's going to do it again tonight at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca by 1.9 seconds over Elias Roman. We're going to head straight back to that GMX5 lead, though.
Darling's running out of opportunities to make a pass on Alessandrini. There's a little bit of a run. There he goes. Look to the
on the
inside.
brakes into turn 5, side by side. Paul Darling door to door with DJ Alessandrini. DJ's led almost every single lap. It's a half a lap left, and they're still side by side. Paul might have to give this one up, though.
Yeah, to give it up, swing back to make the corner in time.
Man.
He's definitely not got enough of a run to make a move into the Corkscrew.
Yeah, so now you're setting up for turn 11. That's the only opportunity you really have left. Don't make a mistake in here. DJ's a little bit wide. Paul's setting him up perfectly. He's just got to get a good run through 7, 8, and 9. Now for turn 10. DJ's on the brakes a little early. Opportunity for Paul. He's going to swing left. He had to jump on the brakes as DJ covered into turn 11. Dive underneath, contact.
Oh, giving him a big shove, but if anything, that actually helped Alessandrini.
Yeah, that came down to the final corner, but it wasn't quite enough. DJ Alessandrini, he's going to get it done. Paul Darling, second place, gave it all he had, but couldn't quite do it.
Yeah, almost had him out of that run off the second and last corner. But unfortunately, Alessandrini covered his bases and kept them out there.
Yeah, he just stayed out wide and didn't let Paul get that door open. And DJ Alessandrini is your winner for race number 2. Here's a look at your race results as the rest of the field has come on through. David Alessi wins in TCR. Elias Roman, Darren Treacle, Dennis Barrett, Dave Fitzgerald, your top 5. Then it was Alessandrini, Darling, Lanning, Schickel, and Cadenau are your top 5 in GMX5. Whew. Well, that was a wild one towards the end especially. We'll be back in just a couple minutes to talk to your race winner. We'll be David Alessi, DJ Alessandrini, and maybe a couple more. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back live to SimTV in the Washington, D.C. region SCCA iRacing League. We're here now with our second place finisher in race number two, fourth place finisher in race number 1, Elias Roman. Elias, tonight, race number 1 probably should have been yours. Obviously, a bit of a miscommunication and a mistake on setting the server up. It was 5 minutes longer than it was supposed to be. You had speed to win tonight, but didn't quite get the checker flag in either. Close in race 2. Walk us through your night and that chase to try to get David Alessi.
Yeah, so race 1, apparently I didn't get the memo that it was 20 minutes, not 15, and I kind of did basically 15 minutes plus maybe like a buffer lap, just in case. And I looked at the timing, I looked at the fuel, and 2 and 2 weren't getting together, so I ultimately had a pit because I was going to run out of gas, which ultimately was on the last lap. But 4th was still a good result, considering. Race 2... had a small mistake in the beginning, dropped me back down to 5th. Slowly, methodically, clawed my way back up. I know I had an incident with Dennis. I lifted, but we just still connected. So Dennis, if you're listening, I'm sorry, my man. Won't happen again. Yeah, then Tala, I think, broke. So it's basically just me, David, and oh man, I forgot his name already. Trickle. And then Trickle making a mistake in the corkscrew, I capitalized, and then David must have just saved a little bit for the end on his tires. I just couldn't catch up, so had to settle for a second.
Second place tonight for Elias Roman. Not too bad, Elias. Nice run tonight. I know there was you needed some confidence, and this is going to be a confidence-boosting event for you, so I hope you enjoy the race, and we'll see you back next time.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys, as always.
All right, Elias, have a good night. Moving on now to our race-winning driver in TCR, David Alessi. David walked into the night leading the points, and I think after everything that's gone on, you still should be leading a race win in race number 2. Walk us through that fight with Elias, Darren, and all the other drivers you had to work with to get on through, and talk to us about your win.
Ooh, man, that was a tough one. It was exciting. I had a little bit of trouble towards the beginning, and once I gathered myself up, just kept my nose down and kept plugging away at it. Worked my way back up to the front. A couple people in front made some mistakes, and it allowed me to squeeze by. And then I just had to worry about Elias behind me, making sure I kept a good gap to him.
How difficult was the multi-class traffic tonight? I know at VIR it was tricky, but you didn't see quite so many cars. This week it seemed like there was a whole lot of cars out there, and it seemed like it made it more challenging.
It was a lot more challenging from my point of view tonight. I think it just had to do with the way the track is laid out, and the Miatas have a greater apex speed, I think, than what we do in the TCR, and so that kind of plays to our disadvantage trying to pass them in a turn. And some of the runs between the turns were just short enough to where you come out the turn, coming into the next one, you're just at a bad spot trying to pass them. It wasn't 100% clean, and everybody's free and clear.
Hey, David, congratulations on your victory tonight at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Good luck next week. Thanks for talking.
Thanks, Kyle. Have a good night.
Absolutely, you too. And I guess we're going to talk to DJ and Paul Darling, who came in here running nose to tail for most of the race, but at the end it got pretty dicey. Paul, we'll talk to you first. You were chasing down DJ that last lap. You gave him a run for your money, gave him a shove down into turn 11. Walk us through that chase to get DJ.
Yeah, luckily I was able to get in his draft and close down the gap with some lap traffic. But basically the whole race I was just trying to see where I could possibly make a move on the last lap, try and do a calculated maneuver. But there were a few times I thought I might be able to get a dive into 11 because I did know I was a little bit better on the brakes. I think there was a ride height difference on our cars, and maybe into 1, but those were really the only 2 spots I thought I had a chance. And as you saw, I just couldn't carry the speed when I made an unexpected lunge, and I think that was 6, but I just couldn't carry the speed, and I knew DJ was going to turn down because I didn't have the nose on him, so I had to back out of it into the kink.
DJ, you're ready to throw some hands there at the end of that with Paul running in the rear bumper. Walk us through that final lap there as Paul was closing in.
No, nothing but admiration for Paul. Like, he was like 4 seconds back and he caught me. It's some of the TCRs I want to have a fist fight with, but I mean that's multi-class racing, and the worst thing that happened from the TCRs kind of diving in when I don't think they should have, is me and Paul had some great racing. So really, it's kind of a win at the end of the day. That was a lot of fun, and the new tire model on the Miata is just a blast. It honestly, it just reminds me so much of racing in GLTC and just how uh, like lap after lap, you just have more confidence in the grip of the car, and you might have overall pace lap 3, but the confidence isn't quite there. So with these cars, you're just kind of forcing yourself to trust that it'll be there, and most of the time it is. And there was a lot of attrition tonight, and there's just a little bit of a learning curve getting used to this car because it drives so different. So I'm sure the next time we jump in these Miatas and TCRs, everybody will be a lot more practiced up and used to how different this car drives, because it's very, very different.
Walk us through that final lap with Paul closing, especially down through the corkscrew. He got a pretty good run there, but it seemed like you kind of knew what he was going to do into that last corner, and it seemed like he stayed left a little bit longer to kind of block his run. What was going through your head there, and did you know that was where Paul was going to take a look?
Yeah, I just from keeping my eye on Paul just throughout the racetrack, I knew he was stronger than me there. So, and Paul's a smart guy, so I'm sure he knew that he was stronger than me there too. So really, I was thinking that's probably his best spot to get by me, and he definitely had a run on me. I hugged left, so he had to choke up a little bit, but then at the same time, you don't want to hang yourself, so I boogied on back to the right side of the track. Paul was trying to make it work. We were inch not accurate enough, and we bumped a little bit. No hard feelings, and yeah, and then went on to drive to the checkered flag. So that was just so much fun. I'm so glad that Paul caught me, just because that was just a blast.
DJ Alessandrini gets it done tonight. DJ and Paul, thanks for talking to us, guys. Congratulations. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you.
Absolutely. That's going to wrap it up for interviews here tonight. The Washington, D.C. region SCCA iRacing League round number 6 from WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca is complete. Here's one last look at your race results before we call it a night here, Finney. And kind of a blast around here. Again, race is a little bit longer than usual, so that kind of spread things out a bit more. But for David Alessi, DJ Alessandrini, and Tala Sadiq, race wins for them tonight.
Yeah, and they all did a really solid job. I'm a bit surprised in some ways, in other ways not, that there weren't more incidents between the different classes. I think we saw more incidents within the classes themselves with guys racing each other. So that was nice to see. I'm really curious on how the MX-5 field is going to do next week once they have some more time with the new tire model.
Lots to learn before next week's race. Actually, I'm not sure. I think next week's race is a Silverstone. So we actually do have a GT3 race next Wednesday instead of our normal classification. So make sure you join us then. Tomorrow night, I think we've got WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca again for the Fuel IndyCar Series race. So look forward to seeing that tomorrow. Then it'll be Saturday, Pocono for the Outsider Racing League. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you later. Have a good night.